Welcome back to America's Forum, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner.
And I'm J.D. Hayworth. Ed, it's time to talk statistics, but not just any statistics, job numbers. The Bureau of Labor Statistics announcing the March jobs figures today, and the unemployment rate hasn't changed from February. The rate remains 6.7%. Still, the claim is 192,000 new jobs added, falling just short of the 200,000 predicted by some economists, down slightly from February's figure of 197,000. And the broader measure of unemployment and underemployment, including part-time workers who want full-time jobs, edged up to 12.7%. Hourly earnings fell, indicating most new positions were in lower-paying areas such as leisure and hospitality, support activities and healthcare, retail, and temporary business services. The length of the average work week rose to 34.5 last month from 34.3 in February, most likely due to workers' hours returning to normal after being reduced to cope with all that cold weather in so many areas of the country. So many numbers, so little time, but here to help make some sense of this, we're joined now via Skype by Campbell Harvey, the professor of finance at the Fuqua School of Business at Duke University. For purposes of full disclosure, we should point out, A, my mom is an alumna of Duke, and B, we're in a situation, Ed, that with Skype, from time to time, Skype can be a bit temperamental. But then, as you were bragging just minutes ago about that first class radio telephone license.
I went right to the back and I took care of everything. Trust me, it's all done.
And no sooner those words are spoken that now we have Professor Harvey with us. Cam, thanks very much for being back with us here on America's Forum.
Great to be back on the show.
Now, should we be concerned that the unemployment figure hasn't shifted, or should we be optimistic because, quite frankly, the accounts from the Associated Press make it sound like it's something great, though you're seeing a preponderance of hiring in lower level positions and what could be considered temporary jobs?
That's right. So the good thing is that we're moving in the right direction. There was a lot of noise given the weather that we've had, but the print was kind of very close to what was expected, close to 200,000, and we need to basically continue that. If you dig into the data, one key thing is that if you look at the private sector side, we're now basically back to where we were before the Great Recession actually started. So that's good news. Some of the data is skewed in the last couple of years because we actually been losing jobs in the government side. But overall, I would say that we're on the right course, but there's still significant unemployment.
Campbell, there's been a thinking process here for a while that if you had a 5 in front of your age, it would be almost impossible to find a job. Now, according to some people, if you have a 1 or a 2 in front of your age, it is almost nearly as impossible to find a job. Isn't that something that really is kind of lost a little bit in the numbers, that it's no longer the young that are grabbing all the jobs here? The employers are simply not going after certain groups of people, and that young group, I think, kind of surprises some people.
Yes, and this is a problem not just in the U.S., but in other countries too, especially in Europe, that effectively, if you're young and you don't have the benefit of kind of higher education, then the unemployment rate is huge. And this is setting in motion a problem that is going to fester and potentially be something very serious if we have to deal with a lost generation. So I am most worried about the younger people. This is really a bad strategy for the long-term health of the U.S. economy to have such a large group effectively disenfranchised.
Now, when you talk about a bad strategy, there is also a lot of discussion that those who are already out of work, the employers are simply looking right past them without even any consideration whatsoever. So I guess what a lot of people who are out of work in that group would say, how do we change that? How do we get those people back to work? Because that is a huge amount of the unemployed.
Yeah, well, the one thing that we don't want to do to change this is basically to somehow regulate it directly, that you must hire people or things like that. That just doesn't work. Or create these temporary jobs that go nowhere. So in my opinion, the key thing is to ask the question, why are these people not being hired?
Is there an answer?
Yes, there is, I think, and it's very clear that there's a huge skew between the opportunities for people that have got more education versus the people that have less education. So if we're going to make any investment, we need to make the investment on the education side. If you are low skilled, you're at great risk going forward because you're going to be replaced by a robot. However, if you've got the skills, it's much more difficult for the robot to replace you. So in terms of kind of strategy for the economy, we need to focus on education. We need to focus on education for the people that are unemployed right now. So it shouldn't just be that you get extended benefits for who knows how long, 99 months or whenever. You need to actually have some retraining.
Well, and in terms of retraining, there's something else that has been absent from this discussion. Cam, you talked about some of these numbers expanding in the temporary jobs, and of course, the whole specter of Obamacare and who is entitled to health care coverage with a 40-hour work week. We're seeing contractions from there. So there's another regulatory factor, if you will, that may be affecting these job numbers, and certainly in the area of lowered skilled jobs, correct?
That is correct, and there's evidence for that. As you know, our Duke CFO Magazine survey a couple of months ago asked the question very directly. In terms of the new ACA regulations, how is that going to affect your hiring? And the answer was extremely clear. Basically, they said to hire less full-time people. They would shift full-time people to part-time, and that's actually going against where we need to go. So anytime you layer in additional regulations that cost companies more money, whether it be the ACA or whether it be increasing minimum wages, you're actually going against the tide, moving in the direction of longer sustained high unemployment.
Well, it continues to be a problem, and Campbell Harvey, we appreciate your perspective there from the Fuqua School of Business on the campus of Duke University, and we also understand that well, you should be articulating the need for education, especially higher education, and a lot of guys there with MBAs at Duke. Thank you so much, Cam. We look forward to having you back real soon.
Okay, thank you.
So Cam laying it out there for us, Ed. He gave his assessment. Now we'd like to hear yours. You can join us via social media and give us the what for, or give it to Professor Harvey. The way you do it is to check out Twitter at Newsmax TV, hashtag America's Forum. Also, there's the old reliable email, and no, you don't even need an electronic stamp to get to us. Connect at newsmaxtv.com, and Facebook. Ah, yes, Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/Newsmax. That's what we ask you to do, as we will have more of your comments a bit later as the final hour of America's Forum rolls on. Stay with us.